What's up, everybody? This is Tech G back with another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the historical milestones as it relates to the advancements in artificial intelligence. So let's get into it. All right, so let's kick things off way back. The idea of creating intelligent human-like machines isn't new at all. Ancient civilizations were already fantasizing about this. As it relates to Greek mythology, there are stories from Homer that talk about intelligent statues and golden robots. And there's some god with some crazy name out there I can't pronounce that supposedly built mechanical servants. And all that sounds creepy, but maybe it's just futuristic. Who knows? And then there's also the Jewish golem legend. So in Jewish folklore, a golem, this is a clay creature that's brought to life to protect people. And it was an early version of an artificial human. Anyways, these stories didn't involve silicon chips or algorithms, but they reflected a basic human desire. And that is to build things in our image that can think and act for us. Now, fast forwarding a few thousand years to the thinkers who started making the dream a bit more realistic. The first person is a dude named Rene Descartes, and he had the mind-body question. So basically, Descartes, I think that's how you say his name, but anyways, he proposed that the human body was like a machine and that thought was a separate process. And this opened up philosophical debates about whether machines could one day think for themselves. And then you got a guy named Gottfried Leibniz. I think that's how you say his name. But in the late 1600s, this guy imagined a universal language of logic, which is an idea that would later inspire programming languages and AI logic systems. And then we roll into the 1800s, and there's a person named Charles Babbage and a lady named Ada Lovelace. So Charles Babbage, he designed what is called the analytical engine, which is what you're looking at on your screen right here. And this was the first concept of a programmable machine. And then a lady named Ada Lovelace, she is considered the world's first computer programmer. She theorized that Babbage's machine could do more than math, that it could even compose music if programmed correctly. Now, obviously, back in the 1800s, they didn't have the hardware to make all of this happen, but they did have the vision. All right, so let's go ahead and jump to the 1930s and 1940s, and this is considered the birth of computing and theoretical AI. So in 1936, a guy named Alan Turing, he published a paper that laid the foundation of computer science. He described a theoretical machine, which is now called a Turing machine, that can simulate the logic of any computer algorithm. And then during World War II, Turing, he helped crack the Nazi Enigma code using an early electromechanical computer. But it was in 1950 that Turing really hit the AI scene with his paper called Computing, Machinery, and Intelligence. He posed the now famous question, which stated, can machines think? And then he also introduced what is called the Turing test. And this is basically if a machine could converse with a human without the human realizing it's a machine, then he would consider the machine to be intelligent. And as a spoiler alert, we're still chasing that goal today. Moving forward to 1956, this is considered the official birth of AI. And then within that, we have what's called the Dartmouth Conference. And this is the moment most historians call the official birth of AI. So in 1956, John McCarthy, a guy named Marvin Minsky, another guy named Alan Newell, a guy named Herbert Simon, and others that gathered at Dartmouth College for a summer workshop. And McCarthy, he coined the term artificial intelligence. And all of these guys, they propose that every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can, in principle, be so precisely described that a machine could be made to simulate it. Now, that statement was bold and perhaps a bit premature, but that statement is what sparked a movement. All right, so moving forward to the 1950s and the 1960s, this is when the first AI programs came about. So after Dartmouth, things started moving fast. So in 1955, we have what is called the Logic Theorists, and this was built by Newell and Simon. And the program, this could prove mathematical theorems and was called the first artificial intelligence program. But in 1957, you have what is called the General Program Solver. This is another Newell and Simon project, and this could solve a wide range of logic programs using rules and a goal-directed approach. Then in 1966, you have what is called ELIZA, and this was developed by a guy named Joseph Weizenbaum, and this is one of the first chatbots. And this simulated a therapist by reflecting questions back at users. So for example, the user would say, "I'm sad," and Eliza would respond by saying, "Why are you sad?" Now, this is not truly intelligent, but it was very convincing for its time. And also during this time period, people started to think that machines could be almost human, but this optimism wouldn't last forever. Then comes the 1970s, and we have the first AI winter. So, exactly what happened. So, basically, researchers they had made bold predictions in the 60s and early 70s that AI would soon outperform humans in everything. Well, as we all know, that didn't happen. And some of the reasons why this didn't happen is because computers were still too slow and expensive back then. AI systems they couldn't handle real-world problems very well, and more importantly, funding had dried up when the hype didn't deliver. So governments and companies they pulled back support, and basically the AI party was over, at least for now. All right, so moving forward to the 1980s, AI had bounced back thanks to something called expert systems. So, what is an expert system? Well, these were rule based programs designed to mimic the decision making of human experts. You have examples like NYCIN, and this was created to diagnose bacterial infections. It used if then rules to simulate how a doctor might think. Now, why exactly was there a comeback? Well, these systems had real world use in business and healthcare, and corporations saw the value and started investing, but it didn't last forever. As the systems grew, they became hard to maintain and the magic faded again. And then we headed into what is called the second AI winter. And this took place in the late 1980s going into the 1990s. So once again, the hype train had crashed. And the reasons are expert systems, they couldn't scale, they couldn't learn from new data, maintenance was expensive. And once again, funding dried up. And this second winter was colder and lasted longer. But in the shadows, something new was brewing. All right, so moving forward to 1997, we have an AI program called Deep Blue that beat a guy named Gary Kasparov. And this was a huge moment. So IBM's Deep Blue, it defeated the world chess champion Gary Kasparov in a 6-game match. And here's why this mattered. Well, it showed that AI could beat the best human in a complex game. And Deep Blue didn't just think like a human, they used brute force and strategy. But it was proof that machines could win in elite level cognitive challenges. And that turned heads once again. Then we get into the 2000s, and this is the rise of data and machine learning. So essentially, we're in the internet era where two key things changed the game. The first is massive amounts of data. So we started generating data at an unimaginable scale. We're talking emails, social media, photos, video, and online behavior. And also computing became cheaper and faster. So Moore's law in cloud computing, this made it easier to process all of this data. And as a result, a new wave of AI powered by machine learning came about. So instead of hand coding rules, developers, they trained models to learn from data. Fast forward to the year 2012, and deep learning changes everything. So in 2012, a neural network called AlexNet, it crushed the ImagineNet competition, which was an actual challenge where computers try to identify objects and images. And AlexNet used deep learning, which is a type of machine learning that mimics the human brain using layers of artificial neurons. Now, why was this a big deal? Well, it cut the error rate in half. It reignited global interest in AI, and it showed that deep learning could outperform traditional methods. So basically, this is what kicked off the modern AI boom that we are now experiencing. All right, moving forward to 2016, you have AlphaGo. This beats the Go Masters. So you might have heard about chess, but what do you know about this game called Go? Well, this is a 2,500-year-old Chinese board game known for its complexity. And humans, they were unbeatable until AI showed up. So you have this competition called AlphaGo, which was hosted by DeepMind, which is Google's AI company. And essentially, it beat the world champion, some guy named Lee Sedol, in 2016. Now, it didn't just win. It made creative moves that no human had ever thought of. And this was a turning point. So basically, AI can now master tasks that required intuition and creativity. And then that brings us to the year 2018 all the way to the present, and AI is everywhere. So now we are living in the AI renaissance. So let's go ahead and look at some recent milestones. So we got the GPT models created by OpenAI. So GPT-2, which was created back in 2019, this started generating realistic text. You got GPT-3, which came out in 2020, and this had 175 billion parameters with very good fluency. And then we got what is now known as ChatGPT, and this brought AI to the masses, sparking worldwide conversation about AI's role in work, education, and society. Also, there was DALL-E and Midjourney. So AI can now generate images from text prompts like a cat riding a skateboard in space. And then we also have AI applications being used in real life. So in healthcare, they can diagnose diseases from x-rays. In finance, they can detect fraud and make stock predictions. In transportation, we have self-driving cars. And entertainment, we use AI in Netflix and YouTube recommendations. And we also use AI in education as far as personalized learning tools. So now that we've gone through this history lesson, exactly what's next? Well, we're now talking about what is called AGI, or artificial general intelligence. And this is machines that can perform any intellectual task that a human can. We're also talking about ethics and regulations. So how do we ensure AI is used responsibly? We're definitely talking about job disruption, because every other day somebody's making a video talking about how AI is going to take somebody's job or create new ones. And we're also talking about AI and creativity, meaning can AI truly create, or is it just remixing stuff? But regardless, the future is wide open and we're all just a part of it. But let's go ahead and wrap all of this up. So, what started as ancient dreams of mechanical beings has evolved into a tech revolution touching every part of our lives. AI isn't science fiction anymore. It's science fact. And understanding how we got here gives us the tools to navigate where we're going next. So whether you're studying AI, working with it, or just curious about the future, one thing is clear: the journey is just getting started. So let's keep learning, because the best AI stories have yet to be written. Now that we've gotten through all of that, let's see if you've been paying attention. So let's do some check on learning. So first question: what event is widely considered the birth of artificial intelligence as a field of study? Is it the Dartmouth Conference in 1956? Is it the invention of the World Wide Web? Is it Alan Turing's publication of Computing Machinery and Intelligence? Or is it IBM's Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov? And the correct answer is the Dartmouth Conference in 1956, which was organized by John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Nathaniel Rochester, and Claude Shannon. This is considered the founding event of AI as a formal field. It was the first time researchers gathered specifically to discuss machines that can simulate intelligence. Next question: which AI milestone marked the first time a computer program defeated a reigning world champion in chess? Would this be Watson that was winning in the game show Jeopardy? Would this be AlphaGo defeating Lee Sedol? Would this be Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov? Or would this be Eliza mimicking human conversation? And the correct answer is this will be Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov. So in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue made history by defeating world chess champion Garry Kasparov. And this milestone showed that AI could outperform humans in complex strategic games with clear rules. And our final question: why was the development of the program ELIZA in the 1960s significant in AI history? Is it that it was the first AI to pass the Turing test? Is it pioneered natural language processing by mimicking human conversation? Is it beats humans at strategy games? Or is it discovered a new scientific law? And the correct answer is it pioneered natural language processing by mimicking human conversation. So ELIZA, this was developed by Joseph Weizenbaum in the mid-1960s, and it simulated a conversation by mimicking a Rogerian psychotherapist. And it was one of the first programs to showcase natural language processing, sparking public interest and debate around machine intelligence and emotional response to AI.